Okay. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started. I want to say, well, it's good afternoon to a lot of us. It's a good late morning to those out on the Pacific Coast. I want to welcome everyone to the Pro Football Hall of Fame here in Canton, Ohio. My name is Jerry Shockey. I'm the manager of youth and education here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And man, I'm pumped today. I mean, we've got an exciting guest here that as part of this Heart of a Hall of Famer series that we've done now for since 2010. We've connected about 75 of our gold jackets out to over nearly 50,000 students from across the country. And the real idea and premise behind this series is really to convey, what it takes to get in the Hall of Fame beyond just the athletic ability. We know Mr. Brown and the guys that are enshrined in here in the Pro Football Hall of Fame they're awesome examples of athleticism and skill and talent. But it took a lot more than that. It took the gold jacket standards of character that you guys hopefully have been studying. The commitment. It took integrity, took courage, took respect, took excellence, took all these character qualities and a whole lot more to make it in the Hall of Fame. And I have a secret for you guys, and I don't think it's much of a secret here, is that these aren't character qualities of just being a great football player. These are character qualities of being a Hall of Famer in everyday life. So you've got the awesome opportunity to talk with one of the greatest, and I heard Mr. Bynum say it earlier in the classroom to his students, those fine folks at John Muir High School there that are hosting Mr. Brown, that some will argue he is the greatest football player of all time. So you have an opportunity to ask some questions of one of the greatest of all time. So with that being said, what I want to do before I get to the introduction of Mr. Brown, there are a number of folks that we need to thank that really made this possible, and without them, it's not possible. And first and foremost, our friends at Extreme Networks who partner on our educational programs. And thank you, Linda. She's been working tirelessly there. 2 flights to Pasadena in the past 7 days for us. So thank you, Linda. This doesn't happen without you guys and our friends there at Extreme Networks. We definitely have to thank, first and foremost, our gracious hosts there today, not only Pasadena Unified School District, but especially the folks there at John Muir High School. And the IT people, Jen Tao, and some of the other folks that helped make this possible, thank you very much. And I definitely can't leave out my boy Roland Bynum. Mr. Bynum has been instrumental in getting this together. It's been his passion that's helped put this together. And so thank you, Mr. Bynum, for all your work in making this possible. It can't happen without you. So I greatly appreciate your efforts there. We also have to thank those that are involved with Mr. Brown, and first and foremost, obviously, his lovely wife, Monique. Monique, thank you for the phone calls and the emails that we've done over the past 6 months and making this possible. So thank you very much for that. And also Tarek Ross as well, who is affiliated with Mr. Brown and also the school district. So Tarek, I thought I saw you floating around there earlier. Thank you for everything you do for us here at the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And last but definitely not least, we need to thank the students that are participating here today. Without you guys, this isn't possible. I mean, you guys are the stars of the show here today. You guys are going to be the ones that are going to make this happen. So with that being said, I would like to give a quick opportunity for all the schools to give a quick shout out. So when I call upon your school and tell you where you're from, so that way Mr. Brown can see you guys and all the other schools can see you, if you'll unmute for a second and give a quick shout out and then mute, and we'll go to the next school. So we're going to start first with our gracious host there in Pasadena, California. And I guess we'll ask Mr. Brown and Monique to plug your ears for a second, but we're going to have John Muir. If you guys want to go ahead and give a shout out, go ahead and do it. Okay. Thank you very much, John Muir. And obviously, we don't want you guys to mute because that would be muting the star of the show here today. So we're going to go to Newark, Ohio next with Newark Digital Academy. Newark, if you want to mute there for a second, give a quick shout out. Go ahead.
Hey, guys.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's enthusiastic folks there. So we're going to go to Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, to Lineville. Lineville, if you want to unmute and go ahead and give a shout out, go ahead.
This is Bill from Green Bay at the bridge site here. I think Lineville's microphone is still not working, so sorry about that. But hello from Greenville. It's like you all know we're about 1.5 miles from Lambeau Field here. So
okay, great, thank you. I know they're tuning in and watching, and actually, now that they say it, they did say that they were going to submit their questions via Twitter. So when we go to the rounds of questions, I'll make sure to hit the Twitter feed for Lineville. So thank you, Lineville, for tuning in Green Bay, Wisconsin. let's go to Middle Branch Elementary School in Canton, Ohio, right here, down the street from here, actually. Middle Branch. Thank you. Thank you, Middle Branch. Go ahead and mute there. You got Middle Branch, if you can go ahead and mute there, please. Thank you very much. I appreciate your enthusiasm there. We're going to stay in Canton, and we're going to go to the Altitude Academy. Altitude. Go ahead. Go ahead. All right, thank you, Altitude. And Dana, just so you know, I had to mute you guys. You guys didn't have it muted, so if you want to go ahead and check and make sure you got that muted properly. There we go. I see it come up. Thank you very much, Dana. And we're going to go to home of Brown's training camp in Berea, Ohio. If Baldwin Wallace University, if you want to give a quick shout out, I see the gentleman. There's a couple gentlemen there.
Yeah!
Thank you very much, Baldwin Wallace. Go ahead and mute there. And we're going to shoot to Buffalo, New York. My good friend Ed Wilson there and his group. If McKinley High School, you want to unmute and give a shout out?
Mac High.
Okay, come on, McKinley. Let's get some enthusiasm. Let's go, McKinley High School.
Mac High. Mac High.
Thank you, McKinley. And let's go from New York to New Jersey, Passaic Valley Regional High School. Go ahead and unmute and give a shout out.
How are you?
They got a All right, thank you, Passaic. Go ahead.
How are you?
Thank you very much. And last but definitely not least, we're going to go to our friends north, our international program here today. We're going to go to Richmond Regional High School in Richmond, Quebec, Canada. If you want to go and unmute your microphones. Okay, thank you very much. And just a reminder to all the schools, again, please make sure you mute your microphones and keep them muted until we call upon you. You guys have been doing a great job with that already. But also, even when we do go to the Q&A portion of the program, if you will ask your question and immediately after you ask your question, mute the button right after that. That way we can eliminate any background noise and any interruptions to Mr. Brown's remarks to that question. So with that being said, what I would like to do, because I need to quit talking here because you guys didn't come to listen to me talk, you came to hear from Mr. Brown and ask questions of him. So with that being said, I'd like to get to the introduction of our featured speaker here, and that is Pro Football Hall of Famer Gold Jacket Jim Brown. And first of all, he was a Syracuse All-American. And by the way, he was a three-sport star at Syracuse. Some argue, I saw an article on him about the Lacrosse Hall of Fame, and the folks at Lacrosse Hall of Fame think that he may have been the greatest lacrosse player to ever play as well. So here's a guy who has excelled in numerous sports, and three especially at Syracuse. He's the Browns' #1 draft pick in 1957. He was obviously an awesome runner. He led the NFL rushers 8 years. So that's 8 out of 9 years. He was all NFL 8 of 9 years. He was the NFL's most valuable player, not once, not twice, but 3 times. He was Rookie of the Year in 1957. He played 9 straight Pro Bowls. He had career marks of 12,312 yards, 262 receptions, and over 15,000 combined net yards and 756 points scored. So that's a little bit about his on the field, but obviously, as a lot of us know, or if you've researched, that Jim Brown has been so much more off the field. And, you know, it really doesn't do justice, and we don't have time to go through all the things that Mr. Brown has been involved with. But I kind of like the summation that's under his Twitter, actually. And it's Mr. Brown is a father, a husband, an NFL athlete, NFL legend, actor, social activist, and I think one of the things that's most near dear to his heart, and he's the chairman of the Merit I Can Foundation for Social Change. And that's the reason why this program is being hosted there today at John Muir, is it's a part of that foundation. So with that being said, if everyone would just for a second, and make sure to mute it immediately following, if everyone would unmute their microphones for a second and join me in giving a warm round of applause to Pro Football Hall of Famer, Mr. Jim Brown.
How are you? How are you?
And if all the can mute your microphones now. We'll make sure they're muted first, and then Mr. Brown, if you got 3, 4, 5 minutes, whatever you want to share for opening remarks, and then after that we'll go to the Q&A portion of the program.
Thank you, Jerry, and thank you very much for that information. It's very valuable. I guess the first few minutes I have to thank the important people in my life.
Johnny, take a picture for Facebook or for our marketing.
Is that
I got him muted. Earthquakes, whatever the school that is, Earthquakes said, Charlie, take the picture. Please keep your microphones muted. Sorry, Mr. Brown, go ahead.
That's all right. Are you set?
Well, I'm good. I'm good.
Am I good?
You are good. You're always good, sir. But go ahead.
Well, I'm loose enough to work with you. Firstly, I would like to thank all the students that are here. I had a chance to interface with a few of you and came away feeling that you're highly intelligent. And the way that you've conducted yourself is impeccable because you guys have paid attention. You have not talked over anybody. You have represented yourself in a very dignified way. And I want to let you know that I noticed that and I have an appreciation for that. My wife must be introduced. She's the strength behind me. And not only that, she's in front of me most of the time because she's highly aggressive in her quest to help people. She is a humanitarian. She's bright and she loves human beings. So would you guys give Monique Brown a little hand? And here we have Terry Ross, who is a part of the American program. Terry and I have been together how many years, Terry?
Oh, man, 25?
Well, at least we got along 25 years. That's a long time. Right beside him over there is Rock Johnson, who has worked in the community with me for how many years, Rock? 24 years? 24 years. And Rock was a terror when I met him. And now he's like a little, he's got a great family, he's got a great son, and he does a lot of work in Compton, California, and a lot of work across the country. And of course, the Hall of Fame, I must say to Mr. Baker, you've done a fantastic job. And I'm so grateful that you are part of this. And that, in fact, I guess maybe you instigated this. And since you have been the president, there have been many great changes. Nothing against the old regime, but you have brought a life there that I think the whole country's going to feel. The Hall of Fame, that is what most young people strive to become a part of. Well, today I'm going to give you a little different look on that. You see this jacket? They told me that I should wear it because it is the Hall of Fame official jacket. And I wear it with a lot of pride. But all of you cannot be in the Hall of Fame. You will not be in the Hall of Fame. Few of you will be fortunate enough to achieve the kind of excellence in sports to be into the Hall of Fame. But I'd like to point out to all of you sitting here and having mentioned your intelligence, they don't put you in the Hall of Fame simply because you're an intelligent and great student. Now, today I decided I would start with my Hall of Fame. And there is a young lady in the room that has a 4.0 average, grade point average. 4.0, that's like excellent, right? How many other 4.0s in here? No, you're the only one, Miss Pat? She's also a reporter, and she's going to do an interview later on. But she is a hero to me because I just met her today. I caught the big smile. I caught the intelligent attitude towards me. And as I probed, I realized that she represented everything that I think should be number one, and that is education. Education. People talk about my sports, but I'm thinking about the educational background that I have. To get a 4.0 average and keep a smile like that, just think of how much work that takes. And just think of when you want to be powerful. What is it going to take? Your physical ability? No, it's going to take your mental ability. The ability to think and to reason and to make decisions that's going to be good for the total body, not just for yourself. You see, when I wear this jacket, there's a certain pride. But my 64 championship team, there's only 3 other Hall of Famers. But it took 40-some players at that time to win the championship because football is a team sport. And life is a team sport, right? And so all of you have the ingredients at your hand to be as great as you want to be. Because when the Hall of Fame talks about integrity and character and excellence, they're talking about all of you because you have that opportunity to represent yourself in that way. Now I'm going to read these particular principles: character, commitment, integrity, respect, and excellence. Now there's nobody in this room that cannot apply themselves to all of those principles. There's nobody in this room that can stop anybody else from applying themselves to all those principles. So if sports was so important, I would be reading about the great sports players, the great LeBron James, and all of those things. And I appreciate these physical athletes. But when I look at what's down here, it doesn't say anything about football or basketball or track or anything like that. It starts with character. Your character. You determine your character. It is not determined by anyone else. Because if you are a person of character, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks. Then you talk about commitment. Commitment is a must in your life. You must commit to something else. You must commit to certain principles. Hard work is under commitment. And hard work is a very good equalizer. It has nothing to do with being an athlete. But the principles can still be applied when you're an athlete. But it also can be applied to a normal student. And so what I'm trying to really drive at is that each and every one of you in this room have a tremendous value as an individual that sometimes isn't given the reward because we are in a capitalistic society that takes the trophies and the money and put it in front of you, and you have everybody out there on the sports field thinking that they are philosophers, dancing in front of the character, shaking their shoulders, and pretending to be comedians when they're just really athletes. And here I am, an athlete, talking about myself in that manner. But I'm different. My claim is not athletics. My claim is the relationships that I have developed with people just like you all of my life. And a lot of them have saved lives. Mr. Rock Johnson has saved so many lives, you never know. This man was Santana Block Crip. Feared all over the country. 10 years incarcerated. Feared in jail. Came out and decided to come to my house when we were having a gang summit and decided to challenge me about changing him. Well, it was easy for me because I had no bones to chew. I care about people. I have no fear. You're in my home. I have no guns to protect myself. I didn't bring you there under those circumstances. So it's my belief that down inside of you, after all that mayhem, there is a good guy. And there's a respectable guy. And he proved it because in 20-some years, he has not been incarcerated again. He has custody of his kid, Little Rock. He's not little anymore. How old is Rock? He's 19 years old. he treats the mother of his kids, the mothers of his kids, because he have. Oh my God. It's a little out of, little. Did you say 6, bro? You got Mr. Bynum, who's my old friend from the day that ruled the radio. You got him laughing, so you might want to try to be a stand-up comedian. But 6, that's so better. And you take care of all of them, right?
Take care of one more.
Fantastic. So you see, I can give respect to those who deserve respect, and it doesn't have too much to do with just athletics. You are a student first, foremost, and always. Your mind will always outdo your body. Your ability to love and to care will always be more powerful than your ability to hit somebody or to knock somebody down. Your honesty, the way you carry yourself, is impeccable to watch. It has nothing to do with age. It has nothing to do with gender. It has to do with you as a human being that God put on this earth so that you can make choices on how you want to conduct yourself. And then you become a soldier, because when you deal with integrity and excellence and commitment and all of those things, you're a very hard person to combat, because those things are real and they are ingrained in you, and they give you a power, a spiritual power that you can't achieve any other way. They say I was arguably the greatest football player that ever lived. They said maybe he was the best that ever lived. Well, maybe he was the best running back that ever lived. They're trying to figure out what I was as a football player. It wasn't clear cut, because I didn't play any quarterback. You know, I didn't return kicks. I wasn't a wide receiver. I wasn't an offensive tackle. I was a running back. That's only one position, in a position of 11 men. So why are you going to try to make me the best in football when I didn't play most of the positions? I only played one. So I didn't go around thinking I was the best. I was hoping that I did the best I could. And when I was talking to Mr. Bynum about you guys, he brought up the fact that you all are taught and encouraged to be the best that you can be. Michael Jordan is Michael Jordan. Don't let anyone tell you that that should be your example, your role model. God is your role model because God is of excellence. There's no other human being that can stand up and say they are excellent. So what is this thing about being a role model when within you, you can be next to the Almighty? Because if you carry yourself correctly and use the power that you have, that can never be denied. Until you give it up, nobody can take it from you. Because your determination and your confidence in the fact that you are a good human being is so powerful, so powerful. When you discover that, you're hard to beat. But when you keep thinking that you got to be a superstar, movie star, all of these kind of stars that's designated by man's opinion of you, it changes, maybe from year to year. So if you're the star this year and next year they take it away from you, then what are you now? So you're not going to be acting on the whim of anybody, because these particular character points, if you apply yourself to them, then you are as powerful as you can be. Now, I hope you all could understand what I just said. I want to thank your principal for allowing me to be in his school, because this is a wonderful thing. I have not had an opportunity in the last few years to talk to a group of young people like you. Before that, I used to be all over this country every day, talking to kids, interfacing with kids, interfacing with gang members, having meetings at my home. And really, I tell you the truth, I kind of miss it. Because when I talk to a class like this, it makes me feel really good because you are paying attention. And I can see when people are paying attention and when they are interested. So I want to thank you all for that.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for the opening remarks. And we're going to start the program off in Pasadena for the student there at John Muir High School to go ahead and start off the questions. But just before we do that, just real quick, I just want to remind the students, the schools to, as we rotate around from school to school to ask a question, again, please make sure to unmute your microphone when we call upon you, have your student ready, and then make sure that that student projects loudly and clearly into the microphone. If I cannot hear the question, I will ask not just the student to repeat the question, I'm going to ask the teacher if you can go ahead and repeat that question just to make sure we don't have any delays, because it looks like we got about a little over a half hour here for Q&A, and I want to make sure we try to get to as many schools as we can here today. So with that being said, John Muir, you've got the first question of the program. If you have a student that wants to come up front next to Mr. Brown or whatever you guys have arranged in there, go ahead.
Okay, Shaka, go with yours.
Speak up.
You go right up next to Mr. Brown. Go
Right
right
up
next to
there.
him.
How you doing, Mr. Brown?
I'm doing fine.
My name is Shaka Terry. I'm a senior here at John Muir High School. I want to ask you an important question that has to deal with all the students in this classroom and in the world. What can you tell us on how to develop character in ourselves from our community leaders, as in principals, mentors, and former counselors in the districts?
Is that it?
Yes.
Well, first of all, you have the ability at this age in your life to reason and to figure things out, to make observations. You know what feels good, you know what feels bad, you know what looks good, you know what looks bad. You are a living human being that have the ability to make choices for yourself. Just because a person is supposed to represent wisdom, it does not mean that they are wise. Okay? So you know the truth about you. You become your censorship. Once you determine you are going to be a good person and apply certain principles in your life, then it's a matter of your education on how to do that. And it doesn't have anything to do with me, politicians, or nobody. Okay? So to each and every one of these students here, they have the ability to make choices. They're old enough to make choices. They're old enough to do the research. And I'll lay it on you. In American, we say the responsibility of self-determination. Self-determination is a responsibility. If you take it, that the self-determination allows you freedom. And the one thing that no one can ever take from you is your freedom of thought. And if you take those thoughts and you materialize them and you live that, then you're as powerful as anybody. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you, John Muir, for the first question. We're going to go to Newark and then Lineville, the middle branch. And just so I can say, for Passaic Valley, I think the teacher keeps sharing their computer. If you share content, it dominates the screen and pushes the screen out. So, Kathy, if you're in there, I saw your desktop there for a second. Just make sure to not push content through your video conferencing system, at least during this program. So, not a big deal though. So let's go to Newark Digital Academy. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Mr. Brown.
Hi, how are you?
Lifelong fan. Just fine. I had a question. Could you tell our students a little bit about how being dedicated and being accountable for what your job is, no matter what it may be, how important that is, and to get you where you want to be in life?
Absolutely. And I hope everyone can hear me. The great thing about the fact that we are human beings. We're at the top of the food chain. And we have abilities to reason and to think and to work hard and to do those things to make our lives better. So consequently, we take advantage of that. You become responsible to yourself. Your actions are actions that you know will bring about good results. Okay? It's really not it's really not complicated. Now do me a favor. Can you interface with me for a second?
Sure.
What was the essence of your question?
Well, we're an online school, so we don't have our students in every day in a traditional classroom. So what a lot of the students lose out on is the constant reminder of being in front of their teachers and the staff that they are still accountable for their actions and their schoolwork and all those type of things. To just kind of say a little bit about how would the fact that when they are accountable, how much further they will get in life if they keep that sense about them.
Well, see, it's a very interesting situation because you're taking a physical situation where availability is limited, and so your students don't get the amount of time that they need. And you would put the burden upon me to give you a few shortcuts when I don't believe in shortcuts. So
I definitely don't want you to tell them shortcuts.
Okay.
We do offer it to the kids. They can come in and work. I'm the math teacher, so they can come in and work with me, and they do quite a lot. But for those students or those times when they can't make it in, we want them to basically get a better grip on, you're still accountable for getting things done. But I wanted you, if you could, just talk about how that applies beyond just the classroom, how it applies to sports, how it applies to their high school kids, so they're working now, those type of things.
Okay, that might take a while, but I'm not gonna take a long time on this. Firstly, if you have a particular amount of time with your students and you communicate with them properly, it's responsibility on you, because the key is communication. And if you know what you are talking about and they give you the respect of listening to you, it should not be a question, because you have in your repertoire the knowledge of how to succeed, how to take responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. You have to pass that knowledge on and have that knowledge accepted. Now, the problem is probably in the transition or the transaction of that knowledge from you to them. And when you want them to take responsibility, I gave you the key, which in American we say, the responsibility of self-determination. Do you want to be a slave in our society by not being responsible? Or do you want to be responsible and be a free person? See, when you take the responsibility of pursuing your job and completing it as good as you can do it, nobody can criticize you or deny you. Now that might happen, but it is not because of your failure. So if you get into them that to pursue whatever and to have a high standard of accomplishment, you are giving them what you can give them. But ultimately, you can give them one more thing. They have the responsibility, and they must accept the responsibility. And in our work around the country, in prisons, in schools, in communities, and gang sets, and so forth and so on, we don't deliver people. They have to deliver themselves. In other words, you can give them a guidance, you can give them an education, you can refer them to reading materials, you can go to documentaries, but ultimately the responsibility is on their part. Okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, New York. And we're going to go ahead and go to Green Bay, Wisconsin, to Lineville. Lineville, if you want to unmute, or excuse me, I'm sorry, Lineville submitted a question. How dare I forget that? Let's go to their question. And their question actually has to deal with your teammates, Mr. Brown. How well did it, how did knowing your teammates and building a relationship with your teammates help you in a game? And I guess the same thing could be related to the business world as well.
Absolutely. That's a great question because it's a very simple question. You know, and I say to the class, how do your friends help you achieve things that are good for you? And you know, it's probably some similar answers will be given. But in sports, everything is squashed together. In other words, you have a short amount of time to do a lot of work. And you have a great responsibility put upon you because when you become a professional, you make money. The people that pay you money, they want results. In order for you to get results, you must have a team that can work together, not a team of individuals who do not care about the overall success of that team. In order to do that, you need leadership that can lead in that particular way. And if you watch the Seattle team a year ago when they won the Olympics, who was the guy that you heard? I'm sorry, Super Bowl. Who was the guy that you heard everywhere when you heard about that championship? Could anybody tell me? Give me one name that you heard all the time. All right, this. Okay, let me introduce this here. This year, Marshawn Lynch. The year before this, when they won the Super Bowl, what name did you hear more than anything?
You heard Russell, their quarterback.
I want you to be. Who said Richard Sherman? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, these guys are paying attention because it was Richard Sherman hands down. Every time you turn around to Richard Sherman, and he played cornerback. And he had a decent game. He knocked down one, whatever. But what about the rest of the players? And they were successful that year. So this year they were not successful. But Richard Sherman was all over the place because our media sometimes intervenes, and it's unfair, say, to the quarterback and to certain other players on that team that Richard got all the glory. But I'm so glad that you recognize it was Richard Sherman. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Green Bay, for the question. Let's come here to Canton, Ohio, for a couple schools here. Middle Branch Elementary, if you want to go ahead and unmute your microphone and go ahead with your question. If you are ready, then we're going to go to Altitude Academy right after that. So be ready.
What was the best advice you were ever given?
Could you hear that?
What was the best advice you were ever given?
Oh, that's a great question. How old are you? Anyway, the best advice I was ever given. Oh,
I'm 10.
When I was in high school.
He said he was 10 years old.
Oh, 10 years old?
10 years old, yeah.
Well, that's a great question for a 10-year-old. Keep it going, Barry. You might be president of the United States soon.
Thank you.
When I was in high school, I had great teachers, great superintendent. Then I went to Syracuse, and I thought I was on a scholarship, but I wasn't. They were giving me a trial because they didn't really want me, but my mentor from my high school wanted me to go there, so it was a big cover-up about me coming there, and I went there, and it wasn't too pleasant. And I decided I was going to quit. And my superintendent of my high school heard about it, said he wanted to talk to me. He flew up to Syracuse. We got in a hotel room, and he told me this. He said, look, don't you ever give up on anything. Don't you ever give up. And I don't give up. And that's why I'm here today, because I don't give up. And sometimes when it's difficult to break through the politics, I don't give up. I'm kind of hardcore. That was it. Because I was ready to leave and get out there and tell everybody how bad he treated me. And, you know, everything was unfair and life wasn't good. And I'd have been out there crying today. Y'all wouldn't even see me up here. You know, people crying about everybody else's reason. Well, don't give up and see what happens. Anyway, next question.
Thank you, Middle Branch. Let's go to altitude. Nice and loud.
Hi, Mr. Brown. Really like your time, by the way. The question I wanted to ask you was, what advice do you give young people about how to develop their character?
Could someone repeat that for me?
Yes.
What did he say? What did she do?
Hi, Mr. Brown. Hi, Mr. Brown. We love your tie. What advice can you give young people about how to develop their character?
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's a difficult question because I try not to be too direct in my teaching methodology. And character is a very complex thing. And when you discuss character, there's many ways of looking at things. And so I think we grow into developing our character. I don't think one day someone tells us what character is and you just start doing it. I think it's something that you discover, uncover, and you find that it's something that is very personal to you. Because your character can be questioned falsely. You can be accused of something that you did not do. You can be incarcerated when you are innocent. So you have to have a conversation with yourself on how you want to react to things based upon what you call your character. Your character is not mine. The set of circumstances that you have to develop character in can be varied. And it means your character, the type of character you have, will help you make decisions that are very difficult. But let me ask you a question. Have anyone in this room ever heard of conflicting loyalties? Conflicting loyalties mean that if your mother and father is in a house and it's burning down, and you only have a few seconds to rescue one of them, which one would you rescue? Because the ideal situation would be you'd be able to go in like Superman and rescue both. And it's a happy day after. The conflict that you will have after you rescue one is the guilt feeling that you didn't rescue two. And then the one you chose and why you chose that one. And it gets complicated. Okay? So how does one judge one's character when there's a situation like that that you have to experience? How does your character come into play? Anybody want to take a shot at it? Say it loud. I still don't know why I can't hear today.
You doubt what you did.
Oh, you doubt. In other words, you say you just doubt what you did, right? And so would you look at yourself as a person of great character or a person of suspect character? It's a good answer. Sometimes we don't know. Sometimes we do the best we can do, but it's the wrong thing. Sometimes we do the right thing and we get no credit for it. So I don't know what scholar is going to come up here and tell you they can define character. Because here's the trick. There's another word that goes with it. There's two other words that goes with character. Does anybody know what those two words are? Well, that's good. That's real good. But anyone else? But that's good. Honestly, it's a great thing that you're thinking the wrong language. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, here's the trick. Character is a two-faced sucker. Good character. What's the other one? Bad character. So how does character get to be like that? Well, because it's that kind of word. And it's that kind of struggle. When you is a unique individual and everything about your life is not quite like any other person that's living. And your decisions are going to be your decisions. And so when I say you grow into it, you don't come on this earth already made up. Your destiny might by God, but you grow, you're 10 years old, you're 20 years old, you're 30 years old, you're 60 years old, and then you're like me, you're 79 years old. And believe me, I don't think the same way today as I did 20 years ago. I don't know if my character's got better or worse, but so I wanted to do it that way so that everything would not just be canned answers for you. Some things take deep thought, it takes circumstances, it takes proof. But if you're interested in being a person of good character, then at least you have a direction of where to go, how to go. Honesty is a part of that. Someone said honesty. This young man said honesty, and it was beautiful that he said honesty because, it's so valuable to have that particular quality within your character. It's beautiful. Someone else said something else that was very relevant. But anyway, I don't want to be redundant on this, but every word doesn't have one sentence that will describe the total aspect of it. There are conflicts in our lives. And sometimes you take the lesser evil. Sometimes you have to take the lesser evil. And then sometimes you take it when you don't have to. So ultimately, your judgment and your integrity to yourself becomes a great factor. Your teachers are a great guide, but sometimes you have Democratic teachers, Republicans are teachers, you have Muslims, you have Christians, and those agendas are, out there. So keep in mind that you're in a world where when you start searching through other people the answers, you have to be careful because things are not always like they seem by the person that give you an answer. Because a lot of times we give answers that we want to please people, so we give them an answer that's pleasing to their ears, but it's not the real answer. Did any of that stuff make sense to y'all?
Thank you, Mr. Brown. And looks like we got about 10 minutes left. So I want to try and get through the last few schools if we can. From a question, let's go to Buffalo, New York. McKinley High School. Go ahead and unmute there. Mr. Wilson, if your students have a question, go ahead, sir.
Yes, sir. I'm Keon Johnson from McKinley High School, and I just want to know, what did you do to make yourself successful?
What did I do to make myself successful? It wasn't one thing. I can tell you that. But I tell you two things that played big in my life and my success. The dedication to my goal. The dedication to my goal. The hard work that I applied to reach a goal. So if I'm going to be a running back, I can't get tired in the third quarter and ask the coach to come out. You know, that's the new style stuff. I play 60 minutes and play at a high level for 60 minutes. Okay? Now, what was that other question that answer I was going to give you? I forgot it. It's not bad to forget it. What was the question again?
The question is, what did you do? What did you do personally? What was it in you that drove you to become so successful?
Oh, that was that the question?
Basically, I kind of paraphrased the question.
Oh, yeah, I think you did.
I kind of lead y'all.
I think you did. Maybe in my mind I was paraphrasing it too. And I'm glad I was at least honest to say I've forgotten the context of it. Now, what is the question you want me to answer? Because I got an answer for that last one you asked.
What was
you
it
said me.
Yeah, that made you become so successful? What did you do?
Well, when my superintendent told me not to give up, never to give up, along with my hard work and along with my supposedly intelligence, I had a tenacity about myself. My pursuit would be like tenacious. In other words, right now at 79, I think I can hand wrestle anybody in this room. And I'll go to myself and I'll be tenacious and I think I'll get you. Now that's a bold thing, right? It is. But you'd have to break my mind to beat me. And I don't think anybody in this room got enough of that in them. You know, it's just me. But I don't go around telling people I'm tenacious. But you know, when I met my wife, I was tenacious. You see what happened?
Thank you. Great question there, McKinley. Let's go to Little Falls, New Jersey, and then get to Canada. So Passaic Valley, Little Falls, New Jersey. Go ahead with your questions.
Hi, I'm Alex from Passaic Valley. How important do you think it is for a player to pay special attention to the coach's directions and plan for a game as compared to following your own instinct as the game progresses?
Woo, what a question. Congratulations, that's a brilliant one. Man, I'm mixed on that. I told you there's some things you get mixed on. Now, I don't think these teachers are gonna like what I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Just because they're the coach and the leader don't always mean they got the answer. When you're in the field of play and you're a running back and your linemen come up and say, look, Jim, we need 32 trap, man, we can do it. Tell them to call 32 trap because that's the one we gonna get it. You'll have a hole as wide. 32 trap. No. We want 75 something. No, coach. We want to run 32 trap. And then take the consequences. So as the leader of the team, when I was leader, I would make decisions on the field based upon what my linemen told me they could do. My coach was over there on the sideline reading some papers. These guys were sweating and they had gotten to know those guys in front of them. And they knew that this guy could not be taken that way. But if you took him this way, you could take him all the way that way. And if the back was aware of it, he can start there and cut back. So I like that approach better than just a coach telling me, run this particular play because I said so. Now, what do y'all think of that? I mean, but let me say one other thing. You get up in here and you can't be right, you know. Okay, coach, go ahead.
One of the things you said is when you have a feel for the game, come to the coach with a recommendation on what works or what should work. And it doesn't work, you have to be able to accept those consequences.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, see, here's the deal. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I tell you about those conflicting loyalties, and sometimes it isn't always what it should be, and you got to make certain kind of decisions. That's why you're a human being. That's why you're a human being. Now, I'm gonna drop this on you. Coaches are given authority by those who are in a higher position to choose them and to pay them. They come to you with the approval of their boss. Their boss has the approval, maybe with the board of trustees or whatever, and however. So you're not just the only equation there. You got the politics of being a coach, the politics of being a principal, the politics of being a general manager. And then you have right and wrong and intelligence and all these other things, instinct. Now, as a running back, I'm gonna be very honest with you. I tried to be good enough to have an opinion on things. I didn't want to not be able to have an opinion, so I worked my butt off to get the respect of the coaches and not to always be jumping in their face, but when there was something that was important that I was sure of, I would then be adamant about what I thought was best, particularly when it called for me to carry the ball and for my great teammates to block. So some coaches don't like it, some do. But that's the way I did it. Now, I don't say that you should do it, because if you're a little weak at heart, you better just not say nothing. Coaches jump all over you. But because coach jump all over you don't mean you're wrong. But what the coach said was totally right. If you take that position, you better make it work, because why would you take a position and then not make it work and not take responsibility? So there's a great responsibility in opening your mouth. And I'm gonna go on record to you guys, because you guys, this is kind of heavyweight group of you. And you got some teachers up there and professors and facilitators. It's a great mixture of people. Now, what was I gonna say? I forgot it again. Next question.
All right, let's go to one last question. We're going to go to our friends in Richmond, Quebec, Canada. If you want to go ahead and unmute your microphones and ask the last question of the program, we'll ask Mr. Brown for closing remarks.
Okay. Go ahead, bro. Why did you quit, and do you regret it?
I couldn't hear that. Oh, why did I quit? And did I regret it? Okay, here we go. I can answer that twice. I was a pretty good student. My best class was philosophy. Okay? There's a thing in philosophy called inductive and deductive. There's a thing called 7 steps. There's a thing called Aristotle. Okay. So I use all these terms because I know everybody here don't understand all of them. And I was kind of playing with you. But when I saw Joe Louis, who was a great champion, in his last days, he should have retired 5 years before he did. When I saw Willie Mays running at a fly ball and dropping it, when he would never drop one when he was younger, I knew he had spent too much time. The worst thing for you, not the worst thing, but one of the things that break our heart is when a superstar that we admire, that have all the God-given talents and apply those talents to the highest, when he doesn't have those talents and doesn't realize it, and he's out there and he looks like a shadow of himself. And all he gets then is pity. What champion wants to be pitied? So here's what I did. When I walked away, I said, one day I'll be at this John Muir High School. Yeah, John Muir, and I would be talking to a coach. And he would ask me a question. How am I going to answer that question? Right? Well, let me tell you how I'll answer that question. I played 9 years, never missed a game, brother. Never missed a game in 9 years. MVP 3 times. Played for World Championship 3 times, won it once. Won a Russian title, I think 8 out of 9 times. When I walked away, what I left was the MVP trophy. Because in my last year, I was devoted MVP to the league. So that was enough for me. I walked away from the game so I could tell you all about my arrogance. and have some fun. Because if I was out here and I had been limping around and couldn't move, trying to play, and y'all be here asking me, well, Mr. Brown, why didn't you quit earlier? That's how it is, my brother.
Mr. Brown, you've shared a lot of wonderful advice today. Is there anything, because we're getting down to the end of the time, at least for the connection here, is there anything that you would either A, like to reiterate that you've already discussed, or B, anything that you'd like to share further to kind of close out the program?
Yeah, I'd like to close it out for me. Firstly, y'all can tell I had a good time. Is that true? Yes, sir. Y'all know I had a good time. And I wasn't too serious. And I want to congratulate you because it's really because of the way that you all reacted and the things that you asked me and the way that you carried yourself. And I would say to you, if you carry yourself like this in an everyday manner, you all are going to be very successful. Because, I mean, this is a sophisticated way to welcome a guest to your high school and to give that guest the opportunity to express him or herself in a manner that that guest can give you some of the wisdom and have a good time doing it. So I want to thank all of you for allowing me to be able to say that. Because if you were a bunch of knuckleheads, you know I would have said, man, get me out of here. They got too many knuckleheads. No. But so thank you all very much. All right.